Another short presentation from the PLC University website. What is a PLC? This is the 18th in the Factory Rat series, Applying Counters Part 2 with the count up, count down, and reset instructions in an actual application. In case you don't have the manual in front of you or you had not watched the previous short presentations on this application, we have a conveyor now and we're up to 3 photo eyes and we are buffering cartons onto this conveyor one at a time based on what comes down the gravity conveyor. In our last presentation, we added a counter. The primary purpose of the counter is to know how many cartons are on this conveyor, which means if we count cartons on, then we also have to count them off. This is where we left our logic in the last presentation on this application. We added this counter to count up specifically to tell us how many cartons are on the conveyor. So every time a carton arrives at photo I1 and then is pulled on the conveyor and clears photo I1, it gets counted in. A third one comes in, hits the leading edge of the motorized conveyor, gets pulled onto the conveyor. When it clears photo I1 is no longer blocked and it counts up to 3. In our illustration, 3 is the limit of how many cartons that we have on the conveyor. But keep in mind, we don't have photo eyes the full length of the conveyor, so we really don't know in the PLC how many cartons are on the conveyor unless we count them on. That means that we also have to count them off. To that end, if we're going to count cartons onto conveyor 1 and then count them off when they leave, they have to go someplace when they leave, which means there has to be another conveyor downstream, and as the cartons leave conveyor 1, they're pulled onto conveyor 2. So we needed another photo eye at the entrance of conveyor 2. We also need to know if conveyor 2 can accept cartons. Is it running? Is it full? So notice at the top of the screen we have a downstream call for cartons that's coming from a downstream control system or another area of the process that's also an input to our controller, so the logic can make the decision when to run and when not to run the conveyor. Because remember, the only thing we're controlling is the conveyor, but we're using 4 photo eyes now plus a signal from downstream. One more quick look at our graphic. If we're going to count cartons off of conveyor 1, do we want to count them off when the leading edge of the carton arrives at 3 PE, when the trailing edge leaves the optical path of 3 PE, or when the leading edge of the carton hits the optical path of 4 PE, or when it leaves the optical path of 4 PE? Remember, the goal is to get this carton completely off the conveyor. Leaving 3 PE will probably work, but 4 PE is more concise and more conclusive. And remember, we need permission from downstream to push cartons onto conveyor 2. Let's go offline to do these edits. Let's add a rung. Add photo I4 with its optical path being cleared. And we want to count down, so we put in a countdown instruction. We add in a countdown instruction to the same instance of a counter data type C5:0. And of course the preset will fill in when we verify this. Last man wins. This is something we haven't talked a lot about, but because this one was 0 and that one was 1,000, this one wins. So we'll put our preset back in there, and now we're ready to download. I'm going to add in one more rung and a reset instruction for this instance of a counter data type. Now we're ready to download. Conveyor's clear right now. Notice that none of the photo eyes are blocked. Just to cheat a little bit, I'm not going to go through the whole process of blocking 1, then 2, clearing 1, clearing 2, and all that. I'm just going to pretend that I have 3 cartons on the conveyor. I toggled photo I1 on and off 3 times. When it went on, nothing happened. When it goes off and clears, it counted up. Now I'm going to do the same thing with photo I4. Photo I4 is input 3. A carton gets in front of the optical path of photo I4. Look at the accumulate for C50. And remember, the count up, the countdown, the reset are all addressing that counter data type of memory. When it clears photo I4, it decrements. Another carton hits photo I4, it decrements. Another carton blocks photo I4 and it decrements. Now conveyor one is empty. We have lots more to deal with this application. The reset button is a manual operator for whoever's operating this system. In case they want to pull all the cartons off and clear it, they can do so. We've got a lot more to add to this system in future presentations. If you're interested in the complete lab project, it's on page 152 in this set of manuals, and it's on page 79 in this manual. And that's how to use multiple counters in an application. Go to the PLC University website for more relaxed presentations and access to these manuals